Hi everybody, welcome to the video. Hope you're having a great day. We're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to be doing exercises down on the floor on a mat. So a little bit different than my usual format, but I wanted to mix it up a little bit today. So if you have like some sort of yoga mat, go ahead and grab that. Big towel will work too if you don't have that. And a couple other things is if you have either some sort of hand weight of a moderate amount, I'm going to be doing a couple exercises with that. If not, don't worry about it. Anything that you have around the house that's a little bit heavy that you can hang on to, half gallon or gallon jugs that are full of water work great. Anything that you have that is heavy will work fine. So even if you don't have an actual hand weight or dumbbell. Of course, always have water nearby. Very important to stay hydrated before, during, and after your workout. And then of course, work at your own level. If these are a bit too challenging for you or you prefer not to do floor exercises, I will put out and I already have put out many videos that are targeted to just doing chair-based exercises. And of course, you can modify anything along the way as we go through this. I'm going to show you some modifications, but please do always work at your own level. Be safe, make it challenging, but be safe with it. So let's go ahead and get started with our first one. So we're going to focus on some lower body, some upper body, some core, and then we're going to finish with some nice flexibility, stretching in a yoga style at the end. All right, so go ahead and sit down on your mat. So the very first thing we're going to do, one of the most functional movements that we can do is getting up from the ground. So the very first thing we're going to do is everybody's favorite, stand up, lie down. All right, and people kind of groan when I say this, but if you have any kind of problem getting up off the ground, any kind of difficulty at all, the more you do it, the stronger you're going to be, the better you're going to be at it. Now, of course, there's lots of options for getting up off of the floor. All right, so don't be embarrassed if you have to use your hands or you have to roll over onto your knees. So different options. The one that I like the most is just doing a wider foot position and coming up to a standing position from there. Other people will like to cross their legs, do it that way, and then again, option to use one hand, come up to standing. If you need that support, two hands. If you need that support, you can go into a lean back, pushing up with both hands if you need to do that. Or one last option on this is, if you're still having a bit of a struggle trying to get up, is to come over onto your hands and knees first. So a lot of people find this a bit easier. Once you're here, you can come through with one leg and then come up from this position. So the goal is to not have to have someone help you or hang on to a physical object to get up off the floor. The less hand assistance you use, the better, but don't let that deter you away from doing the exercise. Okay, so the goal is to be able to get up using your core and leg strength, but if you need to use one or two hands for now, go ahead and do that. Now, to make this just a little bit more challenging, I do like to have us come down all the way in between. So you're going to come all the way back and then go into your chosen foot position for standing. And typically what I'll do is just have people do that 3, 4, 5 times, and that is sufficient for the lie down, stand up. All right, so practice that. Again, I know it's difficult, I know it's a challenge, but especially as we start to get older, we start losing muscle strength and muscle size. And so you really want to be able to get up off the floor when you need to. So let's go ahead and move on to our next one. All right, so let me grab a sip of water here. Again, stay hydrated. We're going to be doing some rows with the upper back. So this is one of the ones I'm going to use the hand weight for. And again, water bottle, anything you have heavy around the house will work fine too. So I'm going to show you a couple of different options with this. The first is just a more traditional row. So you're going to be down on the knees. Now, in this kind of an exercise, you want to pull the belly in, engage the abs. You're going to be supporting yourself with one hand and rowing with the other hand. All right? So right here, elbow up, shoulder blade moving in towards the center. So we're focusing on the upper back here. Keep breathing through it. Make sure that you never hold your breath, especially when strength training. Make sure that you're not concentrating so hard that you forget to breathe. I see that all the time. All right, let's go ahead and switch to the other side. Again, keeping the core nice and engaged, but continuing to breathe evenly. If you have a little bit of trouble remembering when to breathe, it's typical to exhale during the lift, inhale during the lower. But don't let that deter you. Again, if you want to do it the other way around, the most important thing is that you're breathing. And remember, we're pulling with the upper back muscles. Think about those big upper back muscles. Shoulders and arm are just going along. All right, so if you find that kind of easy for you, you want to add a little bit more challenge, I'm going to show you what's called a renegade row, which is just, all it is doing the same movement. Instead of being on the knees, you're going to be up on the toes. So you're going to come up. Now, the narrower the stance, the harder it's going to be, just like any plank type position. Again, you've got one hand supporting and the other hand is doing the row. Now you can go out to a little bit wider foot position. You can see that this is more challenging for me. I actually did work out yesterday, so I'm already starting from a point of being tired. All right, go ahead and switch to the other side. There we go. So the wider the foot position, the more stability that you'll have. If you want more of a challenge, go with that narrower foot position. So the narrower your base is, the more challenging it's going to be. As you saw, I needed to go into a wider foot position to keep my alignment correct. All right, so go ahead and catch your breath from that. And then moving on, we're going to be doing some push-ups. Now, I know most people will say, I can't do push-ups, they're too hard, I just can't do them. So a couple of options here. Yes, you can do the knees down variation of it, but another thing I want you to consider is that you don't have to go all the way down. You don't have to do a full military push-up where you're on your toes, you go all the way down, all the way back up, all right? So do what's at the right level for you. So one option, instead of just collapsing to the floor and then not being able to get up from that position, is just to do a partial range of motion, especially at first. Now another option, if you have like a bench or low table, is you can also do an elevated push-up. And a lot of people will, find that that is much easier. Okay, so anytime you're elevating, that's much easier. However, for the purposes of today's video, we're just going to go ahead and do it down on the mat. All right, so starting with the knees down push-up, hands are out a little bit wider than shoulders. We're going to keep the knees down and we're going to shift forward a little bit. Now again, you're going to pull the abs in, pull the belly button in, and again, we're just doing partials. All right, so if right here, if that's a challenge for you, don't feel like you have to come all the way down. That's where people really feel like they just can't do push-ups. You're going to start gaining strength, even doing partials, and then you can work your way up to doing a greater range of motion. Make sure you're breathing through it. Keep breathing deeply. All right, so then of course the other option on this one is doing the partial push-ups, the quarter push-ups up on the toes. All right, so again, the wider the foot position, the more stable it'll be. Again, that quarter push-up and come back up. Now if you can go further, but start small. Good. All right, nice job on that. Go ahead and take a little break here. Grab some water. Make sure that you're breathing. Make sure that you're catching your breath before we move on. Okay, so we're going to do a leg one next. And this is one that I don't see commonly used, but it is a really good exercise. And it's targeting the quadriceps. All right, so we're going to go ahead and grab our weight again. You don't have to use the weight on this one. This part is optional. And what we're going to do is be kneeling on our mat. Knees are close together. You're going to bring the weight up to the upper chest, pull the belly in, engage the abs. Then start leaning back. Now the key thing here is to keep your body rigid all the way through the hips and lower back. So you're only leaning back from the knees. So you have a straight line from knees to shoulders. Now come just halfway back up. You're just leaning back until you feel those quadriceps engage. Make sure you don't shift over to one side or the other. And it does not need to be a big range of motion here. Just a tiny little movement. You're going to feel it. A lot of people really like this one because you can feel how effective it is in targeting those quads. Again, make sure that you are not bending at the waist and that you're not arching your back. All right, make it all coming from the quads. Just one more of those. All right, good job. Go ahead and take a break from that one. All right, catch your breath here, and then we're going to go into another upper body core. So we're going to combine a high plank with a side plank. So first option is going to be the knees down option. All right, so we're going to come back into a similar position, hand position that we used for our push-up, and lean forward into it. All right, so we're starting here, but instead of bending the elbows this time, we're going to rotate and reach up for the sky. Come back down, and let's do the other side. So center the weight first, and then reach to the other side. So option here is keeping the knees down. We still have the abs engaged. Make sure that you're not leaning back, all right? So you're going to stay forward, shoulders over elbows over wrists. Again, rotate and reach to get that oblique, and then come back to center. Other side, rotate and reach, and come back to center. Now, if that one's pretty easy for you, we'll go ahead and do it on the toes. So it'll be the same exercise. Again, shoulders over wrists, and the wider the foot position, the more stable you'll be. This is your high plank into your side plank. Come back to center, hold, other side. Come back to center and hold. I really feel those shoulders starting to work, those abs starting to work. Back to center and hold. One more. All right, good. Okay, go ahead and take a little break there. And then we're going to move on to a different leg exercise here. So we did quadriceps. We're going to do hamstrings and glutes next. So I'm actually going to turn sideways on this one just so you can see a little bit better. All right. We're going to be doing some bridges. So we'll start with the basic bridge, and then I'll show you the option to do the single leg bridge. So go ahead and lie all the way back. The key on this one is relaxing the upper body, relaxing the arms, and lifting the hips up. So you're going to lift and squeeze. I have my feet right underneath my knees. Tap down, lift, squeeze your butt, tap down. Think about your lower back working, your hamstrings working, your glutes working. All right. Feet further away from your body if this is super easy. All right, so take a break from that one. And then second option is to do the same thing, but one leg at a time. So if this was just right for you, doing two legs, go ahead and continue doing it like that. If that was really easy, you weren't getting enough out of it, I'll show you the single leg option. So again, remember, you're going to keep your head, neck, arms relaxed. This time, we're going to put one foot over the other leg. Then we're going to do the same thing. The key here is not rotating the hips. So you're going to come up, squeeze that glute, tap down. Make sure that you're not rotated. Lift and squeeze. Again, you can move that foot of the down leg further away from your body. if you want a little bit more challenge. So remember, lever principle, the further away that your foot is from your body, the harder it's going to be. Let's do one more on this side. Okay, go. Good. Go ahead and switch. Same thing. Make sure that you're not rotating. So lift, squeeze the glute of the down foot. You're still thinking about your lower back. You're still thinking about your hamstring. But it makes it quite a bit more challenging just having to add that extra stability there. One more. All right, good job. All right, so that's our hamstrings and glutes, and we're going to go into a lower back exercise next. So we're going to do Cobra. So this one is sometimes done in yoga as a lift and hold for a long period of time. We're just going to take it a moderate tempo, lift and lower. So go ahead and come down. So where people get a little bit confused here is exactly what they're going to lift up off the floor. You're going to be lifting your chest, arms, and lower legs. So we're lifting here. Start with just the lift and lower of the chest. All right, so you're focusing on the lower back. Let me turn to the side so you can see a little better. So you're focusing on the lower back. All right, using the lower back. Now see what a small range of motion that is. You don't need to be real big here. You don't need to kind of force yourself beyond what you're comfortable doing. And then if this is not that hard, you can go ahead and add, and I'm sorry you can't actually see me doing it, but you can lift the lower legs. So you're keeping the knees and the thighs down, but you're lifting the feet and the shins up off the floor. Again, that just adds a little additional challenge to it. Do keep breathing through it. Make sure you don't hold your breath. One more. All right, good job. Okay, so let's do one more leg exercise. So this time we are going to do some leg circles. So there are a lot of exercises that you can do with just body weight or light weight. I'm going to actually do this with just body weight. You do have the option, if you want to grab your weight again and just rest it against the outside of the leg, that's fine. Sometimes people find that kind of uncomfortable with the pressure. So we're just going to do body weight exercise here. So go ahead and stable yourself with your elbow under your shoulder. And then all you're doing is stacking the hips. And then you're drawing, and I know you can't see my foot, you're drawing a great big circle with your foot. Now take this kind of slowly. You don't want to rush through it. You do want to get a nice challenge here. Let's do one more this way. And then we're going to go the other direction. So going back to front this time. Again, keeping the leg extended out will make it more challenging. Nice slow tempo here. Time under tension for the muscle is our key, not how fast we can get through the set. Okay, so if that was easy, you can either slow it down even more or just add a few more reps to it. Let's go ahead and go to the other side. All right, so again, just support yourself with the elbow under the shoulder, and then make sure that the hip's not dropping back. And same thing, great big circle, just drawing a great big circle there. Nice and slowly. And again, if you want to have the weight just lightly resting against the outside of the leg, you can do that if you want to have that for additional challenge also. It works fine. I just wouldn't go too heavy with it since it does tend to put some pressure on your skin there. One more this direction. And switch, other direction, back to front if you were doing front to back or vice versa. So with this, we're going for these outer glute muscles, this glute minimus, glute maximus, those stabilizer muscles that help us when we're standing on one leg, help us balance as well as strength and even cosmetics. if you're interested in that. One more. Should be feeling a little bit of a burn here. All right, so again, if that was not quite challenging enough, you can either slow it down or do a few more reps of that. But I like to just start with a moderate tempo, moderate reps on that. All right, so the last thing that we're going to do for our exercise is a crunch and reverse crunch. Now, of course, if you have any reason, if you have any back problems or any reason that you should not be doing forward flexion, please just do not do this one. All right, most people are okay with it, but if for any reason you're not, please feel free not to do it. Don't do anything that you've been told by a doctor or a physical therapist that is contraindicated. Water break. All right, so we are going to be doing a crunch and reverse crunch. And I like this one because even though it's a body weight exercise, it just feels really effective. So we're going to be bringing the chest towards the knees and the knees toward the chest at the same time. Now, one thing that people will do a lot is pull on their head and strain their neck. So you want to make sure that you're just letting your head follow along. The key is using the abdominals. Yes, they're in there. And also, of course, breathing. So exhale as you crunch. Inhale as you release. Crunch. Release. Let's do one more just like that. All right. And then another variation that I like to do on this particular exercise is to mix in some oblique crunches with it, which is really easy to do just by angling your body a different way. It's all about the angles. It's all about the way you position the different parts of your body. So we're going to do one at center like we just did, and then we're going to add in an oblique crunch. So I'm going to drop my knees over to the side and crunch up here. Then I'm going to come back to the center, do one at center, and then drop my knees to the other side and crunch up here. We're going to continue that pattern. Center, release, don't forget to breathe. Side crunch, release, center, release, side crunch, release. Let's do one more time around. Center, release, side crunch, release, center, release. One more, side crunch. Good job. All right, so depending on how challenging that was for you, you can do multiple sets. You can do more reps if you want, or take a break and do multiple sets of that one. Again, just depending on how challenging it was for you to do that. And of course, remember that the more that you straighten out your legs, the harder it's going to be. So a little bit more challenge through a little bit more extension there if you prefer to do that. All right, so hydrate if you haven't been. And then we are going to go into a handful of stretches, as I mentioned at the beginning, that are in a yoga style. It's just a combination of things that I really enjoy for stretching out my back, my lower back, and my hips, hip flexors in the front. So we'll do all of that, stretching the upper body a little bit. So of course, one of my favorites is downward dog. Now, to be honest with you, the first time I ever took a yoga class, they made us do so many downward dogs, and I hated it. I absolutely hated downward dog. The reason that if you don't like it, it's because you are tight in the areas that you need to be stretched in, all right? I tend to get really tight through the Achilles, through the calf, through the back of the knee, through the hamstrings, through the hips. Those are all areas that this particular stretch is working on, all right? So I know it's a little bit of a struggle if you're tight in those areas, but just keep trying to work on it, and I promise it will get better if you keep doing it. It will get easier. It is one of my favorite stretches now, all right? So let's go ahead and begin with the hands under the shoulders, and then we're going to come up on the toes. Now, the key is to press the hips back and drive the tailbone towards the ceiling. Again, you can vary your foot position depending on how much stability you prefer. You can go with a wider foot position if you prefer. And also you can walk your hands in a little bit if that helps you to get your heels down closer to the floor. You can also bend the knees slightly. That's okay too. But the key here is driving that tailbone up towards the ceiling. See if you can bring your ears alongside your arms. Now slowly lowering down, we are going to move into an upward dog position. Now you certainly can do multiples of the downward dog. A lot of days I'll do 3 or 4 of those just because they feel good. Let me show you from this side. Now of course, if you have, just like with doing the forward flexion, if you have any reason not to hyperextend the back, please just skip this one. Sometimes people will have had a history of back problems and this causes pain. If it causes pain, please do not do this one. Just go ahead and bypass it and move right on to the next one. All right, now in particular, I like to add a little bit of a modification where I'm rotating and then rotating the other one. Again, this part is completely optional. You always want your stretching, your flexibility to feel good. It should never feel painful. It might be kind of a little bit uncomfortable if you're tight, but it should never be painful. All right, come back to center, and then from here, I'm just going to go into a child's pose. So you're going to sit back onto your heels as far as you can. That, again, may depend on your own flexibility. And then do your best to just relax your back as you reach forward. Now, a variation I enjoy doing this one is go ahead and walk the hands over to one side. So you're going to feel the stretch on that lat and oblique. And do the same thing to the other side. And then come back to center. Now before we move on to our hip flexor and our piriformis stretch, one that I like to do is chest and shoulder openers. So first thing, grabbing the hands together behind the back, rotate the shoulders back, and just a gentle lift. Of course, as always, stay in your own comfortable range of motion. Don't force it. If this is too much, go ahead and just release those hands out. If you're still feeling good, try a little ear to shoulder to stretch your neck. As always, comfortable range of motion. Other side. You can do this multiple times if you like this one. And then down to the center, tucking the chin towards the collarbone to stretch the back of the neck. And now release that out. And I'm going to bring my hands behind the head, lacing the fingers together. Again, if you have any shoulder issues and this is just painful or not comfortable, you can bypass this one. All right, so then what you want to do is bring the elbows back as far as you can and lift the chest. And I'm just going to go into a little side lean here. And side lean the other way. All right, go ahead and just shake out those arms. So the next one I'm going to do is the kneeling lunge stretch for your hip flexors. So of course, most of us are sitting too much of the day, and so we get really tight. The hip flexors, what it does is it lifts the leg up for you to move, to walk essentially. So it's the part that's lifting the leg up. But when you're sitting a lot, it just stays in a shortened and tightened position. So we're going to go into a kneeling lunge stretch. So you're going to start in that high kneeling position and step through with one foot. Now all you have to do is bend that front knee, and your goal is to feel the stretch right here through this hip flexor. You're going to get a nice little quadricep stretch here too. This might be a strong stretch for you, so if it is, just again go to a slight discomfort, stretching feeling, but no pain. Release it out if you feel like you need to do that. Okay, let's go ahead and do the other side. So you have that kneeling position, and then you're bending the front knee. Again, you're going to feel that stretch. Make sure you keep your torso up. We don't want to hunch forward. Just keep your good posture there. And release. Now people say, well, how long should I hold these stretches? Well, it's completely up to you. So, the standard you could hold for like 30 seconds for each one, but if you want to do it for longer, you can absolutely do it for longer. If you want to hold it for a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever feels good to you, and however much time you have. It's very rare to actually be overstretching unless you're forcing it beyond your natural stretch barrier, or you're doing the bouncing type of stretches that we used to do years ago that are no longer recommended. So never bounce, just stretch and hold. All right, last thing we're going to do is our pigeon pose for our piriformis area, this outer glute, outer hip area that we were working on earlier. All right, so if for any reason this is a little bit too intense or uncomfortable for you, of course you can also do the figure 4 stretch seated in the chair as well. All right, so the pigeon pose, you're going to have one leg forward like so, knee is bent, and then the other leg is extended back behind you. Then you have a couple of options here. You can stay with your torso upright, or if you're feeling okay and the stretch is not too strong yet, you can do the sleeping pigeon, which is just bringing your torso down to rest on your leg. Go ahead and just relax your neck. And again, you can hold this however long you feel like. If you want to do it for 20 seconds, great. If you want to do it for longer, no problem. Again, as long as it feels like a nice stretching feeling, that's what we're going for. If it's super tight, you want to come up out of it and then resume it again and see if you can get a little bit more flexibility there. That's fine too. All right, let's go ahead and do the other side. So we have that leg forward. All right, my other leg extended back. Again, just starting with the upright. If this is already a pretty strong stretch for you, you can stay right there. Or if you're feeling good, you want to relax into it a little bit, go ahead and bring your body down onto your leg. Make sure that you're relaxing your neck and your shoulders. And just breathe. This really should be comfortable and just feel nice at the end of your workout. All the hard work's over. You're just going to finish up by rewarding yourself with some stretching, with some flexibility. All right. When you're ready, go ahead and come up out of that. And let's just do a quick couple of final stretches here. I like these so much because they just really open up the upper body. Lengthen your spine. Inhale. Exhale. Open out and down. Let's just do that one more time. Inhale and exhale, and have an awesome rest of your day. Thanks for hanging out with me today, going through these exercises, and I hope you have a terrific rest of your day, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.